A retired soldier saved the whole village from the bandit intending to kidnap them. But on the night the bandits surrounded the village, no one believed the quiet old man, Daniel Cross, with trembling hands, was once a war hero, until he stepped into the darkness alone, facing armed men with nothing but his instincts, his scars, and a past he never spoke of. How did a retired soldier like Daniel Cross become the only hope to save the whole village from bandits intending to kidnap them? And what secret from his past made even the ruthless bandit leader Cole Maddox hesitate? Don't forget to subscribe, like, and comment. It gives me the strength and encouragement to keep writing beautiful stories. The night the bandits came, the village of Red Hollow lay wrapped in a silence so thick it felt unnatural, like the air itself was holding its breath. The wind whispered through broken fences and dry cornfields, brushing against rooftops and creaking doors, carrying with it a warning no one in the village could yet understand. Daniel Cross sat alone on a worn wooden chair outside his small cabin at the far edge of the village. To everyone else, he was just a retired soldier, an aging man with quiet habits, a distant gaze, and hands that trembled just enough to make people doubt him. He kept to himself, spoke only when necessary, and never stayed long in conversations. Some villagers pitied him, others ignored him. None of them knew who he used to be. Daniel lifted his head slightly, his eyes narrowing into the darkness beyond the hills. His body stilled, not like an old man, but like something trained, something alert. Then he heard it, a low, distant rumble. Engines, faint at first, but growing. His grip tightened on the arm of the chair. "They found another one," he murmured, voice barely audible, a flicker of memory cut through his mind. Burning houses, screaming voices, the thunder of gunfire echoing across open land. He shut his eyes for a brief second, forcing the past back into the place he had buried it for years. But this time, it wasn't memory. It was happening again. Across the village, lanterns were going out one by one. Families settled into sleep, unaware of what was coming. Children curled under blankets, mothers whispering soft lullabies, fathers resting their tired bodies after long days of labor. It was the kind of peace that only existed right before it was shattered. A sudden clatter broke the stillness. A small figure darted across a dirt path. Liam Carter, barefoot, chasing after a stubborn goat that had slipped free. "Come back here," the boy whispered urgently, laughing under his breath. Daniel's head snapped toward him instantly. "Liam!" The boy froze. No one ever heard Daniel raise his voice, but there was something in it now. Sharp, commanding, undeniable. "Get inside, now!" Liam hesitated. "But my goat, now!" No anger, no shouting, just authority. It sent a chill down the boy's spine. Without another word, Liam turned and ran back toward his house, abandoning the goat completely. Daniel stood up slowly. The stiffness in his joints was real, but the way he carried himself now was not the same man the village thought they knew. His shoulders squared, his breathing slowed, his eyes scanned every shadow with precision. Then the sound of engines grew louder, closer, too close. Daniel stepped inside his cabin and shut the door behind him. The room was simple, barely furnished, dimly lit by a small lantern. But in the far corner sat something he had not touched in years, an old wooden chest. He approached it slowly, as if every step carried weight. His hand hovered over the lid, his reflection faintly visible in the metal latch. "You walked away," he whispered to himself. Another flash, his younger self, shouting orders under fire, dragging a wounded soldier across a battlefield, blood soaking into the dirt. His jaw tightened. "I did, but they didn't." The rumble outside deepened. There was no more time. He opened the chest. Inside lay fragments of a life he had tried to forget. An old combat knife, its blade still clean and sharp, a faded military jacket, worn but intact, and a handgun wrapped carefully in cloth, preserved like something sacred. Daniel picked up the knife first. His fingers traced the edge. Steady, familiar, dangerous. Then he reached for the jacket, slipping it over his shoulders. It fit like it had never left him. Outside, the first headlights crested the hills. Bright, blinding. More followed, one after another, a convoy. Daniel stepped back outside, just as the first vehicle rolled into view, its engine roaring through the quiet night like a declaration of war. Dogs began barking. Lights flicked on in nearby homes. Confusion spread quickly. What's that? Who's out there? Then, a gunshot. Loud, sharp, final. The entire village froze. "Everyone out!" A voice shouted from the darkness. "Move now, or you die where you stand." Doors flew open. People stumbled into the open, panic written across their faces. Mothers clutched crying children. Men raised their hands, trying to understand what was happening. The vehicles surrounded the village with calculated precision. Bandits, armed, organized, prepared. Men jumped down from the trucks, weapons drawn, faces covered. They moved with confidence, the kind that came from doing this many times before. In the center of it all, a tall figure stepped forward. Cole Maddox. He didn't shout. He didn't need to. "Line them up," he said calmly. His voice was cold, controlled, terrifying. The bandits obeyed instantly, forcing villagers into a single group. Anyone who resisted was struck down without hesitation. Fear took over. Hopeless, heavy, unavoidable. From the edge of the village, Daniel watched. Counting, 15 men, automatic weapons, strategic positioning, no mistakes. This wasn't random. This was execution. He exhaled slowly, then stepped forward. "Let them go." His voice cut through the chaos like a blade. The bandits turned, surprised. Cole Maddox's eyes landed on him immediately. An old man, walking calmly toward them, alone. "Seriously?" One bandit laughed. "This is what they've got?" But Cole didn't laugh. He watched Daniel carefully. Something wasn't right. Daniel kept walking, each step steady, deliberate. His hands were relaxed, but hidden just enough. "I said," Daniel repeated, his voice low and firm, "let them go." The villagers stared in shock. This wasn't the quiet man they knew, not even close. Cole tilted his head slightly, studying him. "And who are you supposed to be?" he asked. Daniel stopped a few feet away. His eyes were no longer tired. They were sharp, focused, lethal. "I'm the man telling you to leave." A few bandits chuckled under their breath. "Or what?" Cole asked, stepping closer. Silence fell. Daniel didn't hesitate. "Or you won't leave here at all." The words landed heavy, not as a threat, as a promise. Something shifted in the air. Cole's expression changed, just slightly. He stepped closer, narrowing his eyes, looking harder, deeper. Recognition flickered, faint, but real. "Wait," Cole muttered. He moved another step forward, now just inches away. "Do I know you?" Daniel said nothing, but behind his back, the knife was already in his hand, hidden, ready. The tension thickened, and somewhere buried in both men's pasts. A connection was about to surface. The night air grew heavier, like the entire village of Red Hollow was caught in the space between a heartbeat and a gunshot. Cole Maddox stared hard at Daniel Cross, his eyes narrowing as if trying to peel back the years written across the old man's face. The laughter from his men had faded now, replaced with a quiet unease that none of them could explain. Daniel didn't move, didn't blink, didn't even breathe noticeably. But inside, everything had already shifted. Every instinct, every reflex, every lesson carved into him by war had come rushing back, sharp and unforgiving. Cole took one slow step closer. "I've seen that look before," he said, his voice quieter now, more cautious. "Men don't look at me like that, unless they've got a reason." Daniel's grip on the knife tightened just slightly behind his back. "You've seen a lot of things," Daniel replied calmly. "Doesn't mean you understood them." A few of the bandits shifted uncomfortably. Their weapons were still raised, but their confidence wasn't as solid as before. Something about this retired soldier wasn't adding up. Cole studied him for another second, then suddenly smiled. Not a friendly smile, the kind that came from recognizing danger and deciding to enjoy it. "Well," Cole said, stepping back slightly, "this just got interesting." He turned his head slightly toward his men. "Search the houses. Take anything valuable. We leave with people tonight." The villagers gasped in fear. Some cried louder, clutching their loved ones tighter. Daniel's eyes hardened. "No one's leaving with you." Cole didn't even turn back this time. "Kill him." It happened fast. Too fast for the villagers to fully process. One of the bandits raised his weapon toward Daniel, but Daniel was already moving. The knife flashed in the dim light as he closed the distance in a single, precise motion. The first bandit didn't even get the chance to pull the trigger before Daniel struck, disarming him with brutal efficiency and sending him crashing to the ground. Gasps erupted from the villagers. Before the second bandit could react, Daniel pivoted, using the first man as partial cover. A shot rang out, but missed. Daniel didn't hesitate. He moved like a man half his age, every step calculated, every motion deliberate. He grabbed the fallen bandit's weapon in one smooth motion and turned it toward the others. "Back!" he shouted, not to the bandits, but to the villagers. They scattered instantly. Gunfire erupted. Chaos exploded across the village. But Daniel was already ahead of it. He ducked behind a wooden cart as bullets tore through the space where he had just been standing. His breathing remained steady, controlled, as his eyes scanned for openings. 15 men. Now 14. But numbers didn't matter. Position did. Timing did. Fear did. And right now, the bandits were starting to feel it. Cole Maddox didn't shout orders. He watched, carefully, analyzing. Daniel fired once, clean, precise. Another bandit dropped, then silence just for a split second. Cole's expression shifted again. Recognition wasn't just flickering now. It was forming. "You," he muttered under his breath. Another shot rang out, snapping him back. "Spread out!" one of the bandits yelled. "Flush him out!" They moved, trying to surround Daniel, but they were already making a mistake. They were thinking like hunters. Daniel was thinking like a soldier. He slipped between shadows, using the narrow paths between houses to his advantage. He knew the terrain now. He had memorized it over the years, even without realizing it. A bandit turned a corner. Daniel was already there. One swift motion. Down. Another moved toward the well. Daniel fired from behind a low wall. Down. Panic began to spread. "Where is he?" one of them shouted. "Stay together," another yelled, but his voice cracked. Cole watched it all unfold, his jaw tightening. "This isn't possible," he murmured, and then it hit him. Not a memory, A realization. The way Daniel moved. The way he anticipated. The way he controlled the fight. Cole's eyes widened slightly. "No," he whispered. Another bandit dropped in the distance. Daniel stepped out into a dim patch of light. Just for a second. Just enough for Cole to see him clearly. And in that moment, the past snapped into place. "Cross," Cole said, louder now. Daniel didn't respond, but he heard it. "Daniel Cross," Cole continued, a strange mix of disbelief and dark excitement creeping into his voice. "I knew it. I knew I'd seen that face before." The remaining bandits hesitated. Their leader knew this man, and not in a good way. Daniel slowly stepped forward again, emerging from the shadows, the weapon steady in his hands. "Then you know how this ends," Daniel said. Cole let out a low laugh, shaking his head. No, this isn't how it ends," he said. "You disappeared, years ago. Everyone thought you were dead." Daniel's expression didn't change. "I was done," he replied. Cole's smile widened. "But war wasn't done with you." Silence hung between them again, but this time it was heavier, deeper, personal. The villagers watched from a distance, confused and terrified. They didn't understand the history unfolding in front of them, but they could feel it. This wasn't just a fight. This was something unfinished. "You remember Black Ridge?" Cole asked suddenly. For the first time, something flickered in Daniel's eyes. A memory. Sharp. Painful. "I remember," Daniel said quietly. Cole nodded slowly. "Yeah, I figured you would." He took a step forward, his tone dropping. "Might you left men behind that day?" The accusation hung in the air like smoke. Daniel's grip tightened slightly, but his voice stayed steady. "I made the call that saved the mission." Cole's eyes darkened. "You made the call that got them killed." The truth, or at least a version of it, cut deeper than any weapon. For a moment, the gunfire, the chaos, the fear, all of it faded into the background. It was just two men now, two pasts, two sides of the same war. "You don't get to walk away from that," Cole continued. "You don't get to hide in some village and pretend you're just a retired soldier." Daniel took a slow breath. "I never pretended," he said. "I just stopped fighting battles that didn't matter." Cole's smile vanished. "And this one does?" Daniel's eyes locked onto his. "Yes." A beat of silence, and then Cole raised his weapon. Daniel did the same. Around them, the remaining bandits hesitated, unsure whether to intervene or step back. The villagers held their breath, because whatever happened next would decide everything. The silence between Daniel Cross and Cole Maddox stretched thin, like a wire ready to snap. Around them, Red Hollow was no longer just a village. It had become a battlefield. Smoke drifted from splintered wood, lanterns flickered weakly on the ground, and the distant cries of terrified villagers echoed like ghosts in the night. But in the center of it all, nothing else mattered. Just two men, two pasts, one unfinished war. Cole's finger tightened slightly on the trigger. His eyes locked onto Daniel with a mix of anger, recognition, and something darker, something personal. "You really think you can do it again?" Cole said quietly. "Make another call, sacrifice whoever you need, and walk away like the hero?" Daniel didn't flinch. "I'm not here to be a hero," he replied. "I'm here to end this." Cole let out a short, cold laugh. "You said the same thing at Black Ridge." The name hung heavy. For a split second, Daniel's mind slipped. Back to the mountain. Back to the fire. Back to the moment everything changed. The wind howled violently across the rocky terrain as gunfire erupted from both sides. Young soldiers scrambled for cover, their voices overlapping in chaos. "Lieutenant Cross, we're surrounded! We need to fall back." Daniel, young, sharp, commanding, stood at the center of it all, eyes scanning, calculating. "If we fall back, we lose the entire unit," he had said. "We're already losing them," someone shouted. Then he saw it. An opening. A narrow path that could save most of them, but not all. His jaw tightened. "Move east," he ordered. "What about the others?" a soldier yelled. Daniel hesitated, just for a second. Then, "They hold the line." Gunfire swallowed the rest. Screams, explosions, and the sound of men being left behind. Daniel blinked, back to the present, back to Red Hollow. Cole was watching him closely now. "You remember," Cole said softly. "I can see it." Daniel steadied his breath. "That was war," he said. "This is different." "No," Cole snapped. "It's exactly the same. You decide who lives and who doesn't." Daniel's voice hardened. "Not tonight." Before Cole could respond, a scream tore through the air. Both men turned. One of the bandits had grabbed a young woman from the edge of the crowd, dragging her toward one of the trucks. She struggled, kicking and crying out for help. "Let me go!" The villagers panicked again, but fear kept them frozen. The bandit raised his weapon. "Stay back, or she dies!" Everything shifted. Daniel's eyes flicked from the woman, to the distance, to the remaining bandits, calculating, timing, distance, risk. Cole watched him carefully, a dark smile creeping back onto his face. "There it is," he said. "Go on, soldier. Make your call." The entire moment balanced on a knife's edge. Daniel's grip tightened on his weapon. This was it. Another choice. Another line drawn. But this time, he didn't hesitate. His voice cut through the chaos like a command from the past. "Drop her!" The bandit laughed nervously. "Or what?" Daniel's eyes didn't waver. "Or you're already dead." For a split second, the bandit faltered, and that was all Daniel needed. One shot, clean, precise. The bandit dropped before he even hit the ground. The woman stumbled free, collapsing as she scrambled away. The village erupted into movement, people pulling her back, shouting, crying, but the moment of relief didn't last. Gunfire exploded again. The remaining bandits, now desperate and shaken, opened fire wildly. Daniel moved instantly, grabbing cover behind a broken cart as bullets tore through wood and dirt. His breathing remained steady, but the pressure was mounting. They were panicking, which made them dangerous. "End this!" one of them shouted. Cole didn't move. He just watched Daniel, studying him like a puzzle finally coming together. "You changed," Cole said, almost to himself. Daniel fired again, another bandit down. "I adapted," Daniel replied. "No," Cole said, shaking his head slowly. "You broke your own rule." Daniel paused for just a fraction of a second. "What rule?" Cole's eyes darkened. "You didn't sacrifice her." The words landed heavier than any bullet, because they were true. At Black Ridge, Daniel would have made a different choice, but not anymore. "People aren't numbers," Daniel said firmly. "Not anymore." Cole's expression twisted. Anger, disbelief, and something close to resentment. "That's why you'll lose." He raised his weapon and fired. Daniel barely moved in time, the bullet grazing past his shoulder as he dropped to the ground and rolled behind cover. Pain flared, but he ignored it. He'd felt worse. Much worse. The fight narrowed again, closer, more personal. Daniel's ammo was running low. The bandits were down to just a few, but Cole was still standing, still calm, still dangerous. The others began to fall back slightly, unsure, shaken by what they had just witnessed. Their leader hadn't given the order to retreat, but fear was already pushing them there. Daniel saw it, the shift, the breaking point. He stepped out slowly from cover, his weapon still raised. "Call them off," he said. Cole looked around at his remaining men, then back at Daniel. For a long moment, he said nothing. Then he smiled, a slow, dangerous smile. "You really think this is over?" he asked. Daniel didn't lower his weapon. "It is for them," he said. "It can be for you too." Cole chuckled. "You still don't get it. Do you?" He took a step forward. This was never about the village. Daniel's eyes narrowed slightly. "Then what is it about?" Cole's smile faded. "You." The word landed like a shockwave. Every piece of the night suddenly felt different. Every move, every decision, every moment. This wasn't just a raid. It was deliberate, targeted, personal. "I've been looking for you," Cole continued, "for a long time." Daniel's grip tightened. "Why?" Cole's eyes burned now. "Because you don't get to disappear after what you did." The past wasn't just catching up. It had arrived. And it wasn't leaving without a final reckoning. The wind picked up again, carrying dust through the broken village. The remaining bandits stood uncertain, caught between fear and loyalty. The villagers watched, silent, unterrified, but something else now. Hope, fragile, but real, because for the first time, the bandits were no longer in control. Daniel took a slow step forward. "So this ends tonight," he said. Cole nodded. "Yes," he replied, "it does." Both men raised their weapons. No more distractions. No more interruptions. Just the final moment. The final choice. The final fight. And somewhere deep beneath the surface, the truth about Black Ridge was still waiting to be fully revealed. The wind swept hard across Red Hollow, carrying dust and ash through a village that had nearly been torn apart. Broken wood creaked, a distant lantern flickered weakly, and the cries of frightened villagers softened into tense, breathless silence. Everything had led to this moment. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and comment. It gives me the strength and encouragement to keep writing beautiful stories. Daniel Cross and Cole Maddox stood facing each other, weapons raised, eyes locked, not just as enemies, but as men bound by a past neither of them had escaped. No one moved, not the remaining bandits, not the villagers. It was as if the entire world had paused, waiting. "You came all this way," Daniel said, his voice steady despite the tension. "Risked everything. Just for me." Cole's expression didn't change, but something deeper surfaced in his eyes. "You think this was about revenge?" Cole replied. "No, revenge is simple. He gestured slightly around them. "This is about truth." Daniel's jaw tightened. "Your version of it?" Cole smirked faintly. "The only version that matters." For a moment, neither man spoke. From then Cole lowered his weapon, just slightly, not surrendering, not trusting, but shifting. "You remember the last transmission at Black Ridge?" he asked. Daniel's grip tightened instinctively. "I remember everything." "Then say it," Cole pressed, his voice harder now. "Say what you ordered." Daniel's eyes flickered, the memory pushing forward again whether he wanted it or not. The chaos, the fire, the radio crackling in his hand. "Unit Bravo, hold position," Daniel said quietly. Cole's voice rose. Louder. Daniel exhaled slowly, his voice firm now. Unit Bravo, hold position. That's an order. The words echoed into the night. Cole nodded once. And what happened next? Silence. Daniel didn't answer, because he didn't need to. They both knew. They died, Cole said flatly. Every single one of them. A murmur rippled faintly through the villagers, though they didn't fully understand. Daniel finally spoke again, his voice low. If they hadn't held that line, none of the others would have made it out. Cole's eyes burned. My brother was in that unit. The truth landed, heavy, final. Daniel's expression shifted, not with shock, but with something deeper, recognition, regret. I know, Daniel said quietly. That answer hit harder than anything else. Cole's composure cracked, just slightly. You knew? He repeated, disbelief creeping in. You knew, and you still gave the order? Daniel didn't look away. I knew what was at stake. Cole shook his head slowly, anger rising again. No. You made a choice, he snapped. You decided who mattered more. Yes, Daniel said. The honesty stunned even the remaining bandits, even the villagers, even Cole. And I live with that every day, Daniel continued, his voice steady but heavy. There isn't a single night I don't see that mountain, not one where I don't hear their voices. The wind howled softly, as if carrying echoes of that distant battlefield. Cole's grip on his weapon tightened again. Good, he said coldly. Then you know exactly why you don't get to walk away. Daniel nodded once. I never did. A long pause. Then Daniel slowly lowered his weapon. The movement shocked everyone. Daniel, one of the villagers whispered, but he didn't react. Cole noticed immediately. What are you doing? He asked, narrowing his eyes. Daniel's hands were now at his sides, open, unarmed. This ends with me, Daniel said. Not them. Cole let out a sharp laugh. You think this is sacrifice? You think dying makes you even? No, Daniel replied. Nothing makes it even. The truth in his voice cut through everything. But if you're looking for someone to blame, someone to punish. Daniel stepped forward slightly. Then it's me. The remaining bandits shifted, confused. This wasn't how this was supposed to go. Cole's finger hovered near the trigger. You're not walking away this time, he said. Daniel met his gaze. I'm not trying to. Another long silence. The villagers watched, hearts pounding, unsure if they were about to witness an execution or a miracle. Then, a small voice broke through. Don't! Everyone turned. Liam Carter stepped forward from the crowd, his small frame trembling but determined. Don't do it, he said again, looking directly at Cole. Cole frowned. Get back, one of the bandits warned, but Liam didn't move. He saved us, Liam continued, his voice shaking. He saved everyone. More villagers began to step forward, one by one. He protected my family, a woman said. He told us to hide, another added. He fought for all of us, a man said. The fear in their voices was still there, but something else had grown stronger. Gratitude, courage, truth. Cole looked around, his expression shifting as the weight of their words settled in. This wasn't Black Ridge. This wasn't a battlefield filled with orders and sacrifice. This was different. Daniel hadn't chosen who lived and who died tonight. He had fought for all of them. Cole's hand trembled slightly. Just for a second. Daniel saw it, but didn't move, didn't push, didn't speak. Because this wasn't his decision anymore. It was Cole's. The wind died down. The village fell completely silent. Then slowly, Cole lowered his weapon, The tension snapped. A collective breath released across the village. But the moment wasn't over. Cole stepped closer to Daniel, his eyes still searching, still heavy with years of anger. "This doesn't fix anything," he said quietly. Daniel nodded. "I know." Another pause. Then Cole leaned in slightly, his voice low. "But it's a start." He stepped back, turned. "Fall back," he ordered his men. No hesitation this time. The remaining bandits moved quickly, retreating to their vehicles. The engines roared back to life, headlights cutting through the darkness as they pulled away from Red Hollow. Gone. Just like that. The danger that had loomed over the village disappeared into the night. Silence followed. Then, relief. People began to move, to breathe, to cry, to hold each other. The weight of fear lifted, replaced by something overwhelming. They were alive. Because of him. Daniel stood still, watching the last of the lights disappear over the hills. His shoulders slowly dropped, the tension finally leaving his body. The fight was over, but the past, it would always remain. Liam ran up to him, stopping just a few feet away. "You really saved us," the boy said, eyes wide with awe. Daniel looked down at him, something softer in his expression now. "No," he said quietly. "We saved each other." The villagers began to gather around him, not with fear, not with doubt, but with respect, understanding. For the first time, they didn't see just a retired soldier. They saw the man who had stood alone against the bandits intending to kidnap them, and didn't back down. As the first light of dawn began to rise over Red Hollow, the village stood not as victims, but as survivors. And Daniel Cross, no longer just a man running from his past, finally stood still, knowing that for the first time in years, he hadn't just fought a battle, he had finished one. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and comment. It gives me the strength and encouragement to keep writing beautiful stories. Thank you.